So social media really has changed the landscape for the hospitality world. What sort of impacts have you seen?
Oh, I mean, look at things like Instagram. Instagram was almost invented because people were taking pictures of food and drink. So, hospitality's been at the very forefront of social media and continue to be so.
In one sense, social media offers greater connectivity to customers than ever before, but on the other hand, it's a noisier landscape. How do people generate that wonderful thing, engagement?
Engagement, as I'll be talking about later, it's a lovely buzzword that a lot of people do mention. True engagement comes from connecting and, talking to your audience. So not yelling about me, and my restaurant's the best and my dish is the best, but talking to your community, talking to your industry, letting the public see that you're connected to your industry and your community, getting that conversation going. And that's what engagement is. It's conversing with people, not talking to people.
Do you find hospitality businesses still treat social media as an afterthought in their strategy?
I think most businesses consider social media as an afterthought. I think that's just a layover from the early days when it was always the younger person in the business and the Gen Y person, the person who, the first person in the business who got an iPhone. They were the person who was told you're going to do the social media. Smarter businesses are, from the outset, exploring social media and making that part of their core marketing plan, but generally it is changing, but generally it is still an afterthought for most businesses and not just in hospitality.
Given its importance in a marketing plan, do you recommend that people outsource that?
They've got to consider their resources. If they've got resources in-house that can execute, by all means, execute in-house. And we work with plenty of clients that do execute in-house and it works very, very well. But they need to be realistic about their time and their staff's time. And they need to set realistic goals about the time that is taken to manage social media. And then they just need to weigh up the cost versus time benefits of outsourcing versus doing it in-house.
Do you find that businesses understand the different platforms and the way that they can be used?
Generally, yes. So some platforms like Twitter always mystify most of the Australian population. That just comes down to what the public are using. Most people are on Facebook and Instagram. Only 5 million Australians are on Twitter. So some platforms do mystify some business owners. Again, it just comes down to maybe they could, for example, do their own Facebook and Instagram, but if they want a Twitter presence, maybe they could look to outsource a Twitter presence to someone who knows how to speak Twitter.
Talking about, I guess, the new platforms, you mentioned the main ones, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Is there a need to keep up with the Snapchats and the WhatsApps and all the other platforms, or are they just the core platforms that businesses really need to focus on?
Yeah, look, it's good to be following the trends and seeing where the audiences are. Snapchat predominantly is used as a fun group messaging style app between peers. It's probably going to be hard to break into that and get a message in front of those people. The other social media that's not traditionally viewed as a social media that I'd encourage people to look at is look more at your online forum style groups. Look at your places like Reddit, where people are actively talking about food and venues and geographical locations, and that could be a place where they could have some meaningful conversations and meaningfully engage. But just remembering, not talking, not yelling about themselves, but answering questions of others and offering advice and genuinely engaging with those other online communities.
So authenticity seems as another buzzword. Is that something that has to be learnt, dare I say?
It's authenticity is business in a nutshell. So whether it's going to face-to-face networking meetings or it's online, you need to shake hands with people. You need to look them in the eye and you need to be authentic. And people will sniff you out if you are, disingenuine either in person or on social media. So authenticity is definitely key, and you would be better to do less activity more authentically than to spread yourself too thin and be disgenuine across multiple platforms.
Is there also value in the data that you can get from some? I'm thinking particularly with Facebook. There's a lot of data behind that. Is that useful as well?
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of misunderstanding about Facebook and data and that because of obviously the events that happened previously. The biggest thing that people don't realise they can do, if they've got a database of email addresses and phone numbers, Platforms like Facebook allow you to directly target those people through paid advertising. That's probably one of the biggest things that a lot of businesses, and not just hospitality, they're underutilising. So if you've collected the business cards of your visitors, use those resources, but use a multi-prong approach. So send a gentle email, send a gentle SMS. At the same time, maybe send them a paid promotion via Facebook. And there's other features on Facebook especially that allow you to look at lookalike audiences. So if you know that your clientele and you've got all their business cards in your brandy bowl on your cash register, you know what your clientele are like. So armed with that, you can go to the people like Facebook and say, hey Facebook, here's my customers. I want you to now go and spread my message to other people who match the demographics of my customers. And Facebook as a tool is good at doing that.